Hi children, I am going to continue the lesson. Let us have a quick recap of what we learnt in the first part of the lesson. Democracy, an evolving idea. What are the main features of democracy we are learning in this lesson? First, democracy means responsible governments. They are responsible to the people and they are answerable to the people. And it is based on equality and inclusiveness. And also, it requires active participation of citizens. And democracy requires civil liberties. And civil liberties means freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to form associations, freedom of press. All these are called civil liberties. And democracy requires equality. And democracy requires free and fair elections also. Democracy requires respect for law and minority opinion. And now we saw in 3 examples like Mexico, Zimbabwe and China how the same party was elected in these countries and what are the reasons for this. Now let us continue. Democracy majoritarian vs inclusive. Often democracy means the rule of the majority, and it is quite natural that in any country there are people with difficult views and different cultures. It is possible that it is quite natural that in any country there are people with different views and different cultures, so difference of opinion may arise. And the most common way to settle such differences is to consider the opinion of the majority. Generally, in all the governments, the problems relating to taking decisions or anything else, they are based on the majority. Opinions of the majority is taken and the government follows the opinion of the majority. And in such a case, it means that we are ignoring the opinion of the minority. There are minority also in the society. If we are taking the majority opinion, that means we are ignoring the opinion of the minority communities. And in such situations, it's better to take an inclusive approach. That means to take the opinion of both the majority and the minorities also to accommodate the needs of both the communities, so that both the communities can live in harmony. If both the communities' opinions are taken into consideration, it will be better for both the communities. Belgium and Sri Lanka. Now, taking the examples of Belgium and Sri Lanka, we are going to see how this power sharing problem or issue was solved by these two countries. Belgium, it is a small country in Europe, and of the country's total population, 59% of the population lives in Flemish region. And these people, 59% of the population, they speak Dutch language. And 40% of the people, they live in Wallonia region. And people living in this Wallonia region, they speak French. 59% are Dutch people, 40% are French people. And remaining 1% people live in, they speak German language. And in the capital city, Brussels is the capital of Belgium. And in this capital city, 80% people speak French, and while 20% are Dutch speaking people. In the capital city of Belgium, that is Brussels, 80% are French speaking people and 20% are Dutch speaking people. Now you can see in this map, yellow marked it is Wallon region, and yellow it is Flemish region, and red one it is Wallonia region, and towards the right hand side it is German speaking people's area. Now the minority French speaking community was rich and powerful. French were minority in the center. Now you see, you can see 59% Dutch speaking people and 40% French speaking people. So French speaking people were in minority, but they were rich and powerful. But this was opposed by the Dutch speaking community. And this led to clashes between the Dutch speaking and the French speaking communities. During the 1950s and 1960s, there were many clashes between the Dutch speaking and French speaking communities. French speaking community, though they were in minority, they were rich and powerful, and this was not liked by the Dutch speaking people. They opposed it. And there were clashes between both the communities. And in Brussels, Dutch speaking people, they were in majority. but minority in the capital. That means in the capital city of Brussels, the Dutch-speaking people were in minority and the French-speaking people were in majority. It was in reverse. Now let us see. In Sri Lanka, it is an island nation, which is our neighboring country also. And Sri Lanka too has a diverse population. There are Sri Lankan Tamilians who migrated to Sri Lanka long back, selling away their properties in India, and they settled there. Those are Sri Lankan Tamilians and Shimhala speakers. Those who are originally inhabitants of Sri Lanka, they are Shimhala speakers. They speak Shimhala language, so they are Shimhala speakers. And in Sri Lanka, 74% of the population, they speak Shimhala language, and 18% they speak Tamil language. 18% are Tamil speakers and 74% are Shimhala speakers. And most of the Shimhala speaking people, they are Buddhists by religion, while most of the Tamils are Hindus or Muslims. Now, majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. Now, let us see the impact of this majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. In 1948, after independence in Sri Lanka got independence from the British rule in 1948, and after independence in 1948, the leaders of Shimhala community, they wanted to establish domination over the government by virtue of their majority. They were in majority in the population, Shimhala speaking people. So they wanted to establish their domination over the government because they were in majority. And so the democratically elected government in Sri Lanka adopted a number of majoritarian measures to establish Shimhala supremacy against Tamil speaking people. The newly formed government also in Sri Lanka adopted many measures to establish Shimhala supremacy because they wanted to establish their domination over the Tamil speaking people. And in Sri Lanka, Shimhala was made the only official language, disregarding Tamil. There are Tamil speaking people also, but only Shimhala language was made the only official language, disregarding Tamil. And the government in Sri Lanka followed many policies which favored the Shimhala speaking communities. Many policies and laws were passed favoring the Shimhala speaking communities. And most of the jobs, higher jobs, they were given to the Shimhala speaking communities only. And the government protected and fostered Buddhism, which was their state religion. And all these measures, one after the other, all these policies and measures followed by the Sri Lankan government, one after the other, favoring Sri Lankan Tamil, Shimhala speaking people, it created a feeling among the Sri Lankan Tamils that they were being alienated gradually. All the policies made by the government or all the measures taken by the government, they were favoring the Shimhala speaking communities. So it created a feeling among the Sri Lankan Tamils that they were being alienated gradually. And so the relations between these two communities, Shimhala community and the Sri Lankan Tamils, worsened. And Sri Lankan Tamils, they formed parties and started struggles for equal status and equal opportunities along with Shimhala community. And though many a times Sri Lankan Tamils demanded autonomy to provinces where the Tamils were in majority, it was repeatedly denied by the Sri Lankan government. They demanded many a times autonomy. Autonomy means independence to form their own government, to rule themselves. Wherever there are in the northern and eastern parts, there were majority of Tamilians. So they wanted to establish their own rule in the northern and eastern parts, but it was repeatedly denied by the Sri Lankan government. And by 1980s, many political organizations were formed by the Sri Lankan Tamils demanding an independent Tamil Eelam state in the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka where the Tamils were in majority. And LTTE was such an organization. LTTE full form is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. LTTE full form is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. Now, the distrust which developed between these two communities turned into a conflict. Gradually, it turned into a conflict, and it took the shape of a civil war between the LTTE and the Shimhala speaking communities. LTTE, it was an extremist organization established to fight for the independence of Sri Lankan Tamils. And in the final war, the Sri Lankan army defeated the LTTE. And it also established a brutal control over those provinces which were occupied by these Tamilians. Over those provinces, the Sri Lankan government established its own control, killing and uprooting many thousands of the Tamil people were killed in these wars. And many families were forced to go back to their countries. That means they had to come back to India. In thousands of numbers, they came back to India as refugees. And at that time, it became very difficult for the Indian government to accommodate all these people. Many more lost their livelihoods also. Prior to the civil war, Sri Lanka had an excellent record of economic development. But due to this civil war, the country was pushed back 100 years. That means whatever development it made, it became zero because of this civil war. This civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country. Now, accommodation in Belgium. Now let us see how the Belgium government solved the problem of majoritarianism. The Belgium leaders, they took a different path. First of all, they recognized that there are many regional differences and cultural diversities also existing in the country. So, between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times. Between 1970 to 1993, in these 23 years, they amended the constitution 4 times to work out an arrangement which was favorable to both the communities, Dutch speaking people and French speaking people also. And the arrangement was a unique arrangement which was made by the leaders in Belgium. And it helped the people to live together. It helped the people of both the communities to live together in harmony. And the arrangement, it worked out very well. It was different from any other country. It was an innovative arrangement made by the Belgium leaders. And let us see what is that arrangement. What are the steps taken by the leaders in Belgium? First of all, I told you constitution was amended 4 times. Constitution prescribes the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers in the central government must be equal. Constitution made it compulsory that the number of Dutch ministers and French speaking ministers should be equal in the central government. That means equal participation was given to both the communities. And some special laws which are to be made by the government, they require the support of majority of the members from both the Dutch community and the French community also. That means no single community can make decisions unilaterally. The French community alone cannot make any laws, the Dutch community cannot make any laws, because the laws must be approved by both the communities with equal majority. And many powers of the central government were given to the state governments also, and so that the state governments are not subordinate to the central government. In such a way, the constitution was amended. And Brussels has a separate government, just like we have a separate state government in Delhi. In Delhi, only central government is there, and Delhi state government is there. Like that, Brussels, it is the capital of Belgium, and in the capital city there was separate government. And in this government, Brussels government also, both the communities were given equal representation. The French-speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels. In Brussels, French-speaking were in majority and the Dutch were in minority. But the French-speaking people, they accepted equal representation for the Dutch-speaking community. Why? Because the Dutch-speaking people, they were in majority in the state governments, in the overall country, central government. But they accepted equal representation in the central government for the French. So the French-speaking people, though they were in majority, they accepted equal representation for the Dutch-speaking community in the state government. And apart from the central and the state government, there was a third kind of government in Belgium. And this government was community government. This community government is elected by people belonging to one language community, Dutch, French, German. Suppose German community government is there, it will be elected by only the German speaking people. and Dutch community government. Only the Dutch speaking people will elect that government. Like that, community government is also there in Belgium. And no matter wherever they live, Dutch speaking people or French speaking people or German speaking people, wherever they live within the country, they elect this community government for their own language. And the main function of this government is to take measures to protect the culture, education, and language related issues. It functions to protect the culture of the communities, and also the development of education and also language related issues are taken care of by this community government. And you might find the Belgian model, it looks to be very complicated. It seems to be very complicated. The Belgium model of government seems to be very complicated, but arrangements made by the government, they worked out very well. They avoided any type of clashes between the French and the Dutch speaking people. And this type of arrangement also helped to avoid the division of the country on the basis of language. Had the government not made this type of arrangement of equal representation for both the communities at central and state levels, possibly the country would have been divided into two on the basis of language. And when many countries in Europe came together to form European Union, European Union, many European countries are members of this European Union, and all these European countries have the same currency. And when this European Union was formed by many of the European countries coming together, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters. Even today, the headquarters of European Union are at Brussels. Brussels is the capital of Belgium. Do you know why they chose Brussels as the headquarters of European Union? It was a great honor to Belgium. The reason for this honor was the European community acknowledged Belgium's ability to provide justice to all the people in the country, because all the European countries, they have seen how Belgium provided justice to all the communities within the country by giving equal representation through its constitution. So, Brussels, which was the capital of Belgium, it was chosen as the headquarters of European Union. Now, what do we learn from these two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka? Both are democracies, but the issue of power sharing was handled in a different way in both the countries. In Belgium, the leaders realized that the unity of the country can be protected only by respecting the feelings and interests of both the communities and regions. And this realization resulted in making some innovative arrangements in the constitution. And already we have discussed what are those arrangements. Giving equal representation to both the French speaking and Dutch speaking communities, both at central and state level. And on the other hand, Sri Lanka handled this issue of power sharing in a different way. How it handled? In Sri Lanka, the majority community forced its domination over the Tamils and refused to share power with them. And it badly affected the country's unity. And due to internal conflicts and civil wars, the country was pushed back several hundred years back. Now, dignity and freedom of the citizens. The most significant feature of democracy is that it promotes dignity and freedom of the citizens. Each and every individual expects equal respect from his fellow beings. And if some people feel that they are not getting due respect like others, then conflicts arise among the people. A feeling of inferiority and superiority comes into their mind, and clashes start. And the passion for respect and freedom, these are the basis of democracy. For any democracy, the passion for respect and freedom are the basis. And this has been achieved in different degrees in different democratic countries. And most of the societies in the world, as you know, they are male-dominated societies. And continuous and long struggles by women for equality along with men made it very clear that equal respect to women and equal treatment of women are the basis for any democracy. And because democracy itself means equality of all the people, then how can the woman be discriminated and dominated? This should not. And once the principle of equality of men and women is recognized, it becomes very easy for women to fight against any discrimination. Once the principle is recognized by all the people of equality of men and women, women can easily fight against any discrimination. And in the same way, caste inequalities in the society also need to be removed. And this caste system needs to be uprooted. And then only it is possible to protect the dignity and freedom of citizens. And equality can be provided in its true sense. Now, expectations from democracy. How can we judge a democratic government? Expectations from democracy also function as the criteria for judging a democratic country. That means, if we want to know whether democracy is successful in any country, we have to see what are the expectations of the people from democracy. Seeing to the expectations of the people from the democracy, we can judge the success of democracy in that country. If people's demands and expectations are more from democracy, it itself shows that democracy is successful. And that is why people are expecting more. And when people get some benefits from democracy or some satisfaction from democratic system of government, they demand more and expect more from democracy. For example, if we ask people how democracy is functioning, what they will say? Naturally, they will always come up with complaints. Some or the other complaint or some more expectations from the democracy. And the fact that the people are complaining itself shows the success of democracy. And when the public expresses dissatisfaction with democracy, it shows the success of democracy. No doubt, it is the success of democracy only. Now the lesson is over. I am giving you homework as usual. Read full lesson, underlining all the key points. Complete the blanks in the material and answer question number 9 and 10 from textbook exercise.